The paintwork of the body is of fairly good quality and adequately copes with the hardships of everyday use. Most of the body panels are single-side galvanized, double-side only on the wings, but at the same time they resist the onslaught of the red disease well. Despite this, corrosion may still be present in some areas of the body. The upper part of the windshield frame is considered the most vulnerable spot due to the fact that there is no galvanization on the roof panel, so front milk mushrooms quickly appear in open areas of the metal. Also prone to red disease are the front edge of the hood in the places of rolling and the lower edges of the doors. They have an unsuccessful water drainage design. Over time, corrosion can affect the attachment points of the front fenders and the points of contacts with the locker. Anti-corrosive treatment is required. Also, the disadvantages of the body include the small thickness of the metal from which the panels are made. It requires attention at the bottom of the car. If the owner has not carried out additional corrosion treatment, small pockets of rust can be found on the brackets and their attachment points to the body, as well as on the metal of the bottom. When inspecting the interior, pay attention to the seat slats and platform for resting the driver's left leg, and bracket and studs for fastening to the floor are rusting. If the car has a wet floor, there can be much more problems, the floor corrodes. Much more trouble is delivered by plastic body parts. The plastic underbody shields covering the fuel filter, absorber and brake pipes are most susceptible to damage. Also at risk is the bottom of the front bumper and the rear guides. The brackets for fastening the body kit of the front part are very weak, and it actually rests on the headlight blocks. Because of this, on impact, it often breaks the fastening of the front optics. The shumka of the engine compartment is also problematic. It accumulates moisture in itself and tears off the fasteners of the drainage shield. The protective plastic of the front optics is not distinguished by reliability, it is quickly overwritten. Before buying a used copy, it will not be superfluous to check the performance of the headlight correctors. Of the less significant troubles, it is worth highlighting the tendency of the cables for door lock, drives, and seals to freeze. On cars of the first years of production, it is necessary to look at the condition of the hood lock cable. It rusts and then breaks. The main part of the second-generation Citroen C4 presented on the secondary market is equipped with gasoline engines. Rarely, but still, diesel versions are also found. The line of power units consists of atmospheric internal combustion engines with a volume of 1.4, 90 horsepower, 1.6, 110-150 horsepower, and a turbocharger pure tech 1.2, 110-130 horsepower. Diesel versions of the Citroen C4 are presented with HDI 1.6 engines 92 and 110 horsepower and 2.0 150 horsepower. The old atmospheric engines of the TU series, TU3JP and TU5JP4 are devoid of significant shortcomings and with timely maintenance only bother with trifles such as leaks, electronic failures, lambda probe failures, floating idle speeds, etc. It will not dwell on these units, since here they are less common than on the same Peugeot 307, which I talked about earlier. But the Prince EP series, which appeared during the time of Peugeot's cooperation with the BMW Group, is much more common and can deliver a lot of trouble to its owner. The main disadvantage of this series of internal combustion engine is the short service life of the timing chain, which in most cases needs to be replaced closer to 150,000 kilometers. It is worth noting that there are instances where the chain withstood about 200,000 kilometers. Oil channels also add to the headache which coke over time, which leads to an increase in oil consumption. In the presence of an oil burner, there is a risk of running the phase regulator, which painfully tolerate a decrease in the amount of lubricant. The oil pump, which is not known for its long service life, can aggravate the problem. By modern standards, the electromagnetic clutch of the water pump drive also had a modest resource. Rarely, but still, there are also such troubles as camshaft rotation and falling valve seats. An error pops up in the valvetronic system, ignoring which leads to engine failure without the possibility of recovery. On some cars of the first years of production, from 2010-2011, with the switchable pump drive, such troubles as the appearance of a crack on the head of the block and the loss of an internal plug located between the cavities of the timing chain and the coolant channels are possible. It is fraught with antifreeze getting into the oil. Of the less significant troubles, it is worth highlighting the unreliability of gaskets, flow, the thermostat unit. Another disadvantage is the complexity of high cost of maintenance and repair of this internal combustion engine. The piston resource is approximately 250,000 kilometers. The turbocharger 3-cylinder unit, which appeared in 2014, is generally considered quite reliable and does not bother with breakdown so often. The main ailment of the motor is the tendency to coking, which leads to cracking of the crankshaft liners. Once every 100,000 kilometers, the cylinder head gasket requires attention. The timing drive is also quite problematic. The expensive belt with an unpredictable resource is used here, which, like on the Ford EcoBoost, is bathed in an oil bath. In addition, this time-in-drive technology had a negative impact on the resource of the oil pump. It quickly clogs with belt wear products. Despite the presence of a balanced shaft, this unit is quite noisy and vibration-loaded. But there are no hydraulic lifters here, so every 80–100,000 kilometers you will have to adjust the thermal clearances of the valves. Diesel Citroen C4 is an infrequent guest in our market. The main enemy of range-mode diesel engines is low-quality fuel, which quickly disables expensive fuel equipment, injectors, high-pressure fuel pumps, and clogs the particulate filter. Also, the use of low-quality diesel fuel leads to cocking of the USR valve. In addition, in the 1.6 engine, gaskets and sealing washer under the nozzles do not differ in reliability, burnout. A differential pressure sensor also suffices for a short while. The weak point of the 2-liter engine is the chain connection of the camshafts in the time-in-drive, which needs to be replaced every 100–150,000 kilometers. In addition, this motor is more sensitive to the quality of the lubricant. The use of non-original oil accelerates the wear of hydraulic lifters. They start knocking. Often, owners also blame the wiring in the engine compartment. It frays. Transmission. The vast majority of Citroen C4s are equipped with a 5-speed manual BE4 or a 4-speed automatic AD8 modification AL4. Less common are 6-speed manual transmissions, comes in tandem with diesel internal combustion engines, and automatic transmission ASIN TF80SC EAT6. There are versions with a robotic gearbox, which were supplied to the European market. Manual transmissions have exemplary reliability and do not require special attentions. The only thing that can be criticized here is the clutch release bearing, which rarely withstand more than 100,000 km. The clutch itself can last up to 150,000 km. For cars with a mileage of under 200,000 km, it may be necessary to replace the synchronizers of 1, 3 gears and the gear shift cable drive, sour. The 4-speed automatic turned out to be much more problematic. In addition to excessive slowness, this automatic transmission is prone to overheating, which promises significant costs to the owner. If you are not puzzled by installing an additional cooling radiator, the machine will regularly overheat and go into emergency operation. Also, overheating leads to accelerated wear of the pressure control solenoids, torque converter lock-up, and bronze bushings in the presence of exhaustion, in which the oil pressure decreases and then the clutches burn. Another disadvantage of the box include potential problems with the activator. The 6-speed automatic turned out to be less capricious, however, its operation algorithm lead to accelerated wear of the gas turbine engine block and lining. For fans of racing at traffic lights, the torque converter needs to be replaced closer to 150,000 kilometers. With careful handling, its resource can exceed 200,000 kilometers. The valve body is also at risk, especially if the owner saves on maintenance. Friction dust clogs the valve body solenoids and the channels of its body. The unsatisfactory condition of the valve body leads to a decrease in oil pressure, which will entail accelerated wear of the direct drum C2 clutch pack, to which it appears, brake band, oil pump, and its bushing. With timely maintenance every 60,000 kilometers and gentle operation, the box does not cause problems for 200–250,000 kilometers. The suspension architecture here is typical for this class of car: McPherson strut in front, torsion beam in the back. The reliability of the chassis does not cause any particular complaints, except that the service life of the stabilizer consumables is small, but many modern cars seen with this. Another of the minuses worth noting is the small resource of the rear silent block, of the front lever, and weak rear springs. Also, the owners complain about the excessive softness of the shock absorbers, due to which the car rolls in corners. The advantages of the model, in addition to the reliability of suspension parts, include the low cost of replacing them. As for the chassis resource, most of the parts can withstand about 150,000 kilometers under moderate loads. In the steering, a rack and pinion mechanism with EGUR is used. The reliability of this unit, as a rule, does not raise questions, except that when operating in a harsh climate, the pump may start to leak ahead of time. Also, the cause of a hydraulic fluid leak can be a clogged one of the hoses. The presence of dirt leads to an increase in pressure in the system. If the liquid level is not followed, everything will end with the destruction of the electric pump. In cars with a mileage of more than 150,000 kilometers, there are leaks in the internal oil seal and problems with the electronic board. The rail, with careful operation, makes itself felt closer to 200,000 kilometers, knocking. Reliable and braking system. The only thing that can be criticized is the intensive wear of the rear brake pads, caused by the special settings of the ABS unit with standard ESP. On older cars, due to problems with connectors and wiring, the electronic handbrake may not work. Interior finishing materials, despite the low cost of the car, are of fairly good quality. But the wear resistance of some elements leaves much to be desired. So, for example, the steering wheel braid and the handbrake cover are rubbed off during the first 100,000 km of run during intensive use. A little longer, the buttons of the steering wheel and the screen cover of the standard multimedia system retain their original appearance, scratched during unsuccessful cleaning. Under overall owners less than 100,000 km, the front seat bolsters also withstand crumple. Among the interior equipment, it is worth noting the unsuccessful radiator of the climate system, which quickly clogs when the antifreeze is not replaced in time. The dampers and the fan motor of the system, as a rule, do not bother with breakdowns, but failures of the fan speed controller are not uncommon. It breakdowns due to overheating. Can drink blood and block BSM, which painfully endures a meeting with water and work in the cold. In addition, the block contains capricious soldered relays. Other failures in terms of electrics are most often caused by the desire of owner to make the car better using non-original equipment, replacing a monochrome screen with a color one, multimedia devices, etc. To avoid problems in the future, compare the complete set by VIN before buying. If you are the owner of this car model, please describe the problems that you had to face during the operation of the car. Perhaps it is your review that will help readers of our site when choosing a car.